Hi guys, I'm excited to catch up with the cast of The Hills today because we want to know where are they now in 2025, and there's a lot to talk about here. Brace yourselves for the drama. The Hills was the ultimate comfort show for millennials. It aired on MTV from 2006 to 2010, and the show followed the lives of young adults trying to make it in LA and was a spin-off of the forever epic Laguna Beach. The Hills centered mostly around Lauren Conrad, or LC, as she navigated toxic relationships with men, friendships, rumors, and her career aspirations as like a fashion design person. And we all loved LC, but nowadays most millennials will probably agree that she did exhibit at times some mean girl behavior. After 5 seasons, Lauren left the series and was replaced by Kristin Cavallari, basically her enemy from Laguna Beach, beginning in the second half of the 5th season. The Hills was a generational classic and went on to have spin-offs, The Hills New Beginnings and The City, which starred Whitney Port and her new life in New York City. Both spin-offs didn't really last especially long. Who was your favorite Hills cast member? Let me know in the comments. Now let's get to the update and talk about Lauren, Audrina, Heidi, Spencer, Kristin, Brody, Whitney, Lo, and Jason. Let's start with Heidi and Spencer, who, despite us all probably thinking their wedding was a publicity stunt, have been married for over 10 years and seem to have a very strong relationship. So Heidi Blair Montag was born September 15th, 1986 in Crested Butte, Colorado. Her parents are Darlene and Bill Montag, but they later divorced, and then her mother remarried a man named Tim, and they owned the Timberline restaurant for 21 years. Heidi has an older sister, Holly, who is actually featured on the show, and a younger brother, Sky. After high school, Heidi moved to California with big dreams to attend the Academy of Art University in San Francisco for 1 semester, and she met Lauren during freshman orientation, and the rest is history. They were instant besties. Spencer was born August 14th, 1983 in LA. He has a younger sibling, Stephanie, and attended the Crossroads School, which is a private prep school in Santa Monica that, fun fact, Whitney Port also attended. He came onto the show as Brody Jenner's BFF on The Hills, and according to Brody in numerous interviews, Spencer's main goal on The Hills was to become the bad guy in the series, which he succeeded in doing a little too well. Did he produce himself? Pretty much yes, and he's admitted to this. As the story goes, in 2007, Spencer and Heidi started dating and moved in together, which led to an epic feud of all time between Heidi and Lauren, because Lauren thought that Spencer was responsible for spreading rumors of a sex tape involving her. Back then, sex tape rumors were like a bomb went off in your life, and that fence between Lauren and Spencer never got mended. Spencer and Heidi married in 2008, and they were given the couple name Spidey. They appeared on a bunch of reality shows after The Hills to probably try to stay relevant and famous. Then they had 2 kids, Gunnar and Riker. Recently, Spencer and Heidi lost their home in the Pacific Palisades due to the terrible fire situation in that region. According to Spencer, and what he told Heather McDonald on her podcast Juicy Scoop, he had spotted the fires behind his house and was keeping a close eye on it, but thought for sure that it would have been kept under control. It wasn't that big at first, but then it essentially got super out of control and they had to evacuate. Their house, sadly, did not make it. His parents' home nearby also burnt down, and Spencer says that he had to convince his dad to leave the area and stop trying to save his house. It's all super awful, and fans wanted to help them in any way they could, and so fans and everyone started streaming Heidi's old single Superficial and her old songs as a show of solidarity, and it actually went #1 on iTunes and has been climbing the charts ever since. According to multiple sources, Spencer and Heidi, along with others who lost their properties in the Pacific Palisades, have now sued the city of LA and the LA Department of Water and Power over damage to their properties during the fire. Justice for Heidi and Spencer, all I have to say. So let's now talk about their arch nemesis, Lauren Conrad, who, after leaving the Hills, has only wanted a quiet life out of the spotlight, which is shocking to some because she was making millions on reality TV. She ended up marrying a man named William Tell in 2014, and they now have 2 sons together. Anyways, back to the beginning. Lauren was born in Laguna Beach on February 1st, 1986, to Jim, who is an architect, and Kathy. She has 2 younger siblings, Brianna and Brandon. And she was the main character of The Hills for a very long time. And she famously told Heidi, "I want to forgive you, and I want to forget you."
So I really do. I want to forgive you, and I want to forget you.
Cue the mascara tear, everyone. She also famously chose to live in Malibu with Jason over the summer instead of going to Paris. Lauren still lives in her hometown of Laguna Beach, and she says she sees some of her castmates from Laguna here and there, mostly the ones she went to high school with. She attended this virtual reunion they all did a few years ago. And Lauren now has her own clothing line called Little & Co. and has published nonfiction and fiction books like LA Candy and The Fame Game. As you would imagine, she's still out there hustling, just sort of away from the spotlight. Although a lot of fans want to see Lauren back on the screen in some way, and there's definitely an appetite for that, there is very little hope of that. She told Entertainment Tonight when she was promoting some charity, "I'm not going to do it, but I appreciate that fans want it. To be honest, my priorities have changed. My family is #1, and it takes a lot to be on reality television. It takes a lot emotionally." She refused to be on The Hills reboot, The Hills New Beginning. Lauren is trying to live like a somewhat peaceful life in Laguna, and fans have kind of started attacking her now on her Instagram page after Spidey's house burnt down, and now they even made a diss track. Obviously, the feud continues, and Lauren's dislike for being in the public eye is now pretty warranted because there are mean people out there that will, say all kinds of things in your comments. There also are these reels now floating around saying how she was the mean girl on The Hills and she was the problem. And one of the scenes in question that keeps floating around is when Heidi calls Lauren to tell her she got her dream job, and Lauren kind of hangs up on her out of jealousy. Anyways, what do you guys think about that? Let's move on to Brody Jenner. He was born August 21st, 1983 in Santa Monica. His dad is Caitlyn, then Bruce Jenner, the decathlon Olympic champion, and his mom is Linda Thompson, who is a songwriter and David Foster and Elvis's ex. So lots of family history there, and yes, he has good looks, let's just say. He's a pretty boy. He has 5 siblings, but only one full sibling, Brandon Jenner. He is the half-brother of Kylie Jenner and Kendall Jenner from the Kardashians. Brody briefly dated Lauren Conrad on The Hills, and she famously said that this was really drawn out on the show, but then he stayed on as a regular cast member. Despite his wild 20s, Brody now has finally settled down his party ways, or I think. In 2022, he started dating professional surfer Tia Blanco after they apparently met in Hawaii. They got engaged in June 2023, and they had a daughter named Honey Ray Jenner on July 29th, 2023 in Malibu. They kind of split their time between being in Malibu and being in Hawaii. And obviously, there's a whole lot of surfing going on his Instagram all the time. He's also a pretty great DJ, and he did appear on the new season that is just airing now of Special Forces. And guess who else dated Brody? Kristin Cavallari. Kristin Elizabeth Cavallari was born in Denver to Judith and Dennis Cavallari. She was their second child because they had an older son named Michael, who actually very sadly passed away due to hypothermia following a car crash in 2015. After her parents divorced, Kristin moved in with her mother in Illinois, but then eventually moved to Laguna to live with her father and brother. And then there was Laguna Beach and a tumultuous relationship with the one and only Stephen Colletti. After the Hills, Kristin married Jay Cutler, who played quarterback for the Chicago Bears, and they had 3 kids, 2 boys and 1 girl. She and Jay divorced in 2022. She then had, fun fact, a hookup situation or something with Craig from Southern Charm. So she also did a podcast with Stephen Colletti, just recapping and talking about Laguna Beach. And now she has her own podcast called Let's Be Honest. She's currently trying to sell her house in Nashville and runs a jewelry company called Uncommon James. Kristin had a reality show going, her own. It was called Very Cavallari. There were weird rumors that Jay was hooking up with her friend that's on the show, and it all stopped because Kristin didn't really want her divorce to play out on the show, and things weren't going well with her and Jay. Jay now seems to be engaged once again, and this time with a girl named Samantha, who I read somewhere, apparently Kristin knew her or they traveled together or something. And now let's go to Jason. So Jason, who somehow convinced Lauren to stay with him for the summer instead of her going to Paris, has had a tough go actually since the Hills and all that, because during this time on the Hills and during this whole period of younger life, we had no idea as viewers, but he struggled with a well-documented addiction and was spiraling. He then appeared on Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew and has been sober for a while, I think like 5 years or something, and is an advocate for those battling addictions. He's married to his wife, Ashley, and they have 2 kids, Delilah and Wyatt, and they actually recently announced that they're expecting a 3rd child. He's actively supporting the initiative Make America Healthy Again and was recently seen with RFK Jr. Let's go to Audrina, who was born May 9th, 1985. Audrina and Lauren's friendship didn't really, in my opinion, finish in the best ways when they were living in that house awkwardly. And, Lauren and Audrina in many ways are opposites. At around the end of the series, Audrina had started dating Corey Bohan, a professional BMX dirt bike rider, and he ended up proposing to her in 2015, and they had a daughter named Kira in June 2016. They eventually got married, but like a year later, Audrina filed for divorce, and there were allegations of abuse and just toxic things going on, basically, in their relationship. This year, Audrina went Instagram official with a country singer named Michael Ray, so very happy for her that she's moving on in happier relationships and, at least she's not with Justin Bobby. And she also recently dyed her hair red and seems to be traveling and enjoying life with her daughter. As for Lo Bosworth, she moved to New York and has a wellness brand called Love Wellness. She also announced that she just got engaged. Under this picture, she had said, "For you, my darling, it could only be yes. Thank you for being the best half that one could be for me. All my love, L. His name is Dominic, apparently. And as for Whitney Port, she is a pretty successful influencer in her own right now. She lives in California with her husband, Tim, who is beloved by fans and who she met while filming The City, her spinoff. And she also has a son, Sonny. She has a very successful YouTube channel where she reacts to episodes of The Hills, Siesta Key, and gives insight into her personal life. She also has a podcast and has shared with the world her big struggle of trying to have another child. She had many pregnancy losses, unfortunately, but on a better note, she's also the creative director now for the gummy brand High Confectionery, a cannabis gummy. Her and her husband were on the journey of possibly getting a surrogate after trying IVF for so many times, but she dropped out, and her doctor said that more surrogates were dropping out apparently after the election. It might be a trend. I wish them all the best. They really seem like great people, honestly, for all these years that I've listened to them and etc. All right, guys, I really hope you enjoyed my update, and please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, pretty please, with a cherry on top. And thank you for listening to my Where Are They Now in 2025, The Hills cast update. Bye, guys!